Yakuza finger removal. Also known as yubitsum, this is a ritual performed to seek forgiveness when a member of the group has wronged another. It involves the amputation of a portion of the offender's little finger to demonstrate sincere remorse and apology. I've ranked this as the least painful because it typically doesn't cause long-term pain, and unlike the more brutal punishments lower on this list, it is not lethal. Bastinado. This punishment involves beating the victim's feet with a light rod, a knotted rope, or a lash. Unlike other forms of flogging, the goal is more to induce pain than to cause serious injury. If done too aggressively or for too long, it can lead to the victim being unable to walk. However, it is not typically fatal. Pitchcapping. Pitchcapping consists of pouring hot pitch or tar into a paper cap and forcing it onto the victim's head. Once cooled, the cap is torn off, taking skin and tissue from the scalp, leaving permanent scarring. While this method wasn't always intended to be fatal, it often led to deadly infections, making it a high-risk punishment. Elephant's foot. Also called gungarao, this form of punishment was used in parts of Asia, particularly India. It involved using an elephant to crush the victim to death. The first method was relatively quick. The victim's head would be placed on a pedestal, and the elephant would crush it, killing them instantly. The second method, however, was far more torturous. The victim would be repeatedly crushed by the elephant walking over non-vital parts of their body, such as arms and legs, before being crushed by the elephant's weight on their head, resulting in death. This variation was intended to prolong the suffering, turning the execution into a gruesome spectacle. Poena Cullei. In ancient Rome, those who killed their own father faced a punishment called Poena Cullei. This death sentence involved being sewn into a leather sack, along with a mixture of live animals, such as a dog, snake, monkey, and chicken, and then being thrown into water to drown. Blowing from a gun. Blowing from a gun is a form of execution where the victim is typically tied to the muzzle of a cannon, which is then fired, killing them instantly. A 19th century English soldier who witnessed this method described the aftermath. The victim's head shot straight up into the air for around 40 to 50 feet. Their arms flew off in opposite directions, landing some 100 yards away, and their legs fell to the ground beneath the gun's muzzle. This method ranks lower because the victim likely feels nothing, as death occurs instantaneously. Castor oil and poop barrels. Forcing someone to drink large quantities of castor oil caused severe stomach pain, making them so ill that they could no longer control their bodily functions. They would then be placed in a large barrel and left inside until they confessed. In some cases, if the person didn't cooperate, they would be left to drown in their own bodily fluids inside the barrel. Rack torture. This form of punishment involved forcing the victim to lie on a rectangular wooden rack where their limbs were stretched in opposite directions. This caused excruciating pain and could lead to dislocated joints and torn ligaments. It was primarily used to extract information, though it could also result in limbs being torn off, leading to death from blood loss. Choke Pear. A choke pear was a metal device inserted into someone's mouth or rectum. The tool was then intentionally expanded, stretching the tissues beyond the point of return. Heretic's fork. The Heretic's fork was a cruel device consisting of a collar with two sets of metal forks. One set was placed under the chin, and the other set at the sternum. The device was secured tightly around the victim's neck, forcing them to keep their head upright. This caused extreme discomfort and sleep deprivation. The victim would either be interrogated or left in place, while the forks gradually pierced through their neck and jaw. This process continued until the victim could no longer hold their head up, resulting in the forks piercing completely through. Catherine's wheel. In this gruesome form of execution, the victim's limbs were tied to a large wheel, which was then struck with a hammer or iron bar, breaking their bones in several places. After this, the victim was displayed publicly on the wheel, often left to starve. Sawing. In sawing, the victim was hung upside down to increase blood flow to the head and prolong consciousness. The executioner then sawed the victim vertically in half, starting at the groin and moving towards the head. Bamboo through bootyhole. A bamboo would be put inside a person's bootyhole, and it would be left there. The bamboo would grow really quickly inside the man, causing incredible pain. It was sometimes left until it exited from the other side. Impalement. The brutal part of impaling, like crucifixion, is that the victim tortured himself. In a famous variant, he was set up high, on a stake, so that it didn't actually penetrate anything vital so long as he stayed up on his toes, so he could keep it from going any deeper so long as he kept his own weight on his feet. When the victim would get tired, he would slip a little further, and when he felt the pain, he would scramble up again on the already aching and exhausted muscles, only to repeat this process out of exhaustion a little later, and so on, until something vital got pierced. Another variant consisted of the Judas chair, a torture device featuring a pyramid-shaped seat where the victim was placed at the top, with ropes used to lower and suspend their body weight onto the sharp apex. The chair would slowly rip the person apart. Flaying. Flaying was a gruesome method where the skin was removed from the body while the victim was still alive. This extreme form of torture was used to cause intense, slow pain and suffering, eventually leading to death through shock or infection. The skin, lacking major blood vessels, did not cause rapid blood loss, so victims could remain conscious and endure prolonged agony. It was often considered a meticulous process, requiring precision and skill from the executioner. And rather than removing the skin in pieces, cultures sought methods to flay the victim more efficiently and completely, sometimes using substances like boiling water to facilitate the process.